So my name is Nick Roden. I am a researcher at the Norwegian Institute for Water Research. And I'm interested in biogeochemistry and making measurements of biogeochemistry in the coastal ocean around Norway, and also the open ocean in the Atlantic and in the Arctic Ocean. Yeah, so what we got here is a membrane-based CO2 sensor. So there are lots of different types of instruments that can measure CO2 in the water, and this one is based on what we call a semi-permeable membrane. So it means it lets gases transfer across the membrane but keeps the water out. So think of it like a Gore-Tex jacket on the outside. And we're interested in making these types of measurements for all sorts of reasons, actually. I'm mostly interested because I want to know where the carbon is going in the marine system, how it's moving around, how quickly is it moving. And with sensors like this, we can make those types of measurements. So the reason why we want to measure carbon dioxide, or biogeochemistry in general, is essentially because of climate change and how we're starting to change or perturb the natural carbon cycle by putting excess carbon dioxide into the atmosphere from anthropogenic activities such as burning coal and oil and changing land use and things like that. So the Earth system is full of different sources and sinks of carbon dioxide, or carbon, and they exchange carbon with each other at different rates. So because we can't measure directly the anthropogenic carbon, we have to understand what's happening in all of those different types of sinks and measuring how quickly the carbon is moving around to understand where it's actually going. So that's why we go out there and throw all these sensors in the water, because we need to understand what's happening in the ocean domain, because the ocean domain is actually one of the largest carbon stores in the Earth system. The gold standard for measuring carbon dioxide in the surface waters requires some equipment that costs over $130,000 US. So that's out of the budget for a lot of people. And one of the goals for us with Nautilus was to try and bring a sensor that was affordable and widely used for the ocean observing community, and adapt it and improve it in such a way that can make those measurements more reliable. So this particular one is a high-range CO2 sensor. It's designed to be used in situations where you have CO2 values from 500 up to 27,000 ppm. And that's quite high. But we chose this one because it would hopefully have a broader application, also in industrial uses for, say, fish farms. This particular one is quite easy to use. It's lightweight, can be portable, but as part of the Nautilus project, what we decided to do was to develop an end cap that fits over the end of the membrane here and acts as a flow-through system. So not only for seawater that pushes water through, but also for gases. So we can run a calibration gas through this chamber and then calibrate the sensor, which was not possible with the off-the-shelf version of this. In addition to the end cap, we also developed some open source software based on a Raspberry Pi system that can act as a data logger and also a user interface. And although you can buy that off the shelf with sensors like this, I think that the benefit of the open source nature of that software kind of speaks for itself in terms of making it more accessible to the wider community.
My name is Øyvind Tangen Ødegaard. I'm a senior engineer at the Institute for Water Research in Norway at the section for oceanography. So I'm working on instrumentation, autonomous surface and underwater vehicles, and sampling systems. This is a multi-port sampler for taking water filter samples. There are two main methods for taking water samples or sampling particles from seawater. You could either sample volumes of water directly in bottles, or you could pump water through filters and then study what is accumulated on the filters afterwards. So this is a filter sampler, and it is special in the way that it is automatic and can gather 24 individual samples. So you could pre-program the unit to take, you could launch it, deploy it at several thousand meters depth or close to the sea surface, and it can collect 24 samples at specified times. So it could be launched and standalone or battery operated for months. But what we are doing in the Nautilus project is modifying this system to use it in a ferry box context. So that involves monitoring it and controlling it live with our instrumentation control system that is installed in many route-going vessels, both around the Nordic seas and also internationally in Antarctica and Arctica and the US. So we're mounting it in a cooling system, and we're involving different fixation fluids for sterilizing, for preserving the samples after they've been taken. It can be useful to, for example, monitor plant plankton distribution and look for harmful algae blooms. For example, in combination with satellite imagery or drone images, it can be used to verify the presence of harmful algae. Say a satellite image indicates that there is a harmful algal bloom in the waters between, say, Norway and Germany. If this is mounted in the Kiel Oslo vessel, then we could trigger remotely water samples to be taken at specific positions along the ship route. That can then be collected when the ship is in port and analyzed to verify whether there is harmful algal bloom.